we know who's on here, and then we'll go into the formal meeting. Oh, Sean's just coming in, so we might just wait for Sean to arrive. Okay, I think everybody's in now. So yeah, I'll go around the room if it's easiest. So Grace, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Grace. I'm the new Democracy Advisor. I think I met most of you at the last meeting.
Right, then we've got Vern.
Yeah, hi, I'm Vern from the, I always get it wrong, from the local community board, Onewhero-Tuakau Community Board.
Yeah, Sue.
Sue O'Gorman, General Manager, Customer Support at Waikato District Council. I look after the exec support for the community board.
Carolyn.
Evening all, I'm Carolyn here, the Onewhero-Tuakau Ward Councillor and obviously member of the Onewhero-Tuakau Community Board.
Jenny.
Yeah.
Sorry. Kia ora everyone. I'm Jenny Wild. I'm with Kotahi on the Patrick Drury project.
Right. There's several of you not on mute. If you can put yourselves on mute if you're not speaking, that would be great. And Jonathan is the other one that's not on mute. That's great. So next we've got Chris Smith.
Kia ora, Chris. I'm the project director for the Papakurura project with Kotahi NZTA. Nice to see you all again.
Right, welcome back, Chris. Prasad.
Here everyone, Prasad Chala, Principal Transport Planner at Kotahi. Good to see you all. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Jackie.
Yeah, kia ora koutou. Yeah, Councillor Jackie Church, and I'm the non-participant. I'm the ward councillor, but Aotearoa, but the non-delegated to the community board. So I'm just here as to be a spectator. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jackie. Noel Foster.
Well, will forgive me first or second Zoom meeting, so I'm glad I made it. I'm the Sergeant in charge of Turco, so just here to give you a bit of a police update at the right time.
Welcome, Noel. That's great. Nice you could make it. Jenny.
Hi, I'm Kira. I'm Jenny from Fulton Hogan.
Right. Ash.
Yeah, hi everybody. Ash Mitchell. I'm the project manager for the for Fulton Hogan for the Papakurura job.
Right, Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan Butler here. Elected member of the community board, and we live out in Omnifero.
Right. Stephanie.
Good evening, Stephanie Henderson, the other Aotearoa ward councillor, and I'm on the community board this time round.
Sean.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sean Jackson, Deputy Chair, ODCB, and Tuakau resident.
When?
Correct answer is. Yeah, well played. Step close to home. Chaser's put.
Bronwyn.
Yeah.
Stop watching the chaser.
I've been having trouble dialing in.
All right, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bronwyn Watson here. Apologies, having trouble with my cell phone.
Right, well, at least you've made it tonight, Bronwyn, on here. That's great.
My phone kept on going off, but I've got it right now, so that's cool. Just
right.
can't
and
see
the
me.
last one is Tracy Thompson. Tracy, we're just doing introductions. You're on mute.
Oh, kia ora tātou. Cool. Hang on a minute. Sorry. There you go. That's better. Ko Tracy tōku ingoa. I'm from Port Waikato, and my marae is Ōrairo marae. And my hapu is Ngāti Tahina. Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora, Tracy. Are you here for the public forum or one of the items? Or
No, I'm just here to whakarongo and listen, I actually saw it on the Werero Marae page, so I thought I'd pop in.
Kia ora. No, that's lovely to have you along. Nice to meet you. Now I've just got, I think we've got everybody. Oh, Ash, yeah, we've done Ash, I think. I think that's everybody. I've just got Pamela Story was going to join tonight as well from the Regional Council, but she's just having trouble getting in. So I've Grace, do you have a contact? Can you send her the link again? Because she's having trouble getting in on the link.
Yeah, sure. What was her name again?
Pamela Story.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so just going to move to confirm the status of the agenda. Do I have a seconder for that? Yeah, Carolyn.
Yes, I will.
Oh no, Carolyn's already seconded. That's great. That's fine. Then any disclosures of interest from anybody for tonight's meeting? No. Okay. No, that's good. Then we've just got to confirm the minutes from the previous meeting, so they're attached to your agenda.
Can we just go back? Sorry, go back to item 2. We were going to rearrange the agenda. Are we going to do the police update first, and then we're going to bring the State Highway 1 update forward? So you guys don't need to stay for the whole meeting if you don't wish to. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the agenda amended with the police first, then the road motorway project second. So do I need to make? I don't need to make any change to that, do I? So
I don't think so. No, that's fine.
I see Pam's waiting to come in. Grace. All right. Okay, so no, that's good. So we've just I'll move the minutes. The last minutes. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Right, thank you, Bronwyn.
No.
That's
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Could I just make a point to that? Page 5, the Tuakau pool upgrade project, erroneously has mentioned the action under my name and Sean's. I believe that might have been maybe yourself.
Yes, that should be corrected. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
be
thank
amended.
you. Yeah, that's good. So that needs a correction. Yeah, that should be me. Very good. Thank you. Well spotted. Okay, so that's all done. So Pamela's now joined us. Pamela, we've done introductions on everybody. Do you want to just introduce yourself as well?
Kia ora. Thanks for that, Madam Chair. So my name is Pamela Story, and I'm one of the 2 constituent councillors on Waikato Regional Council for this area.
Kia ora, thank you. Welcome. So if we move, so we've got no one here for the public forum, unless Pam, you wanted to say anything during the public forum time, because that's open to anybody.
No, as I said in the email, Caroline, I don't have anything specifically to share from the Waikato Regional Council, but really just keen to come along and hear what any of the issues are and hear what people are up to.
Great, that's lovely, thank you. So we'll move to the first item, which is the police update. So welcome, Noel. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Can I just do an audio check? You hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Great, thank you, everybody. Quite timely this morning, I got an email from Lionel Peterson outlining a few concerns that have obviously been circulating around on Facebook in relation to driving speed, traffic enforcement in the general area, people getting around on motorbikes without helmets and driving chaos. So I had an update from we've got 2 traffic policing sections that assist in doing covering counties Manukau South. So just as a snapshot of that, their activity today, they had 3 lasers deployed for monitoring speed outside the schools. And today they picked Harrisville and Buckland School, Buckland Road near the college. and that's out of the 39 schools that they cover in Franklin. So they have to share it around the place. They dealt with, they were aware of a person riding a motorcycle without a helmet on Harrisville Road, and also involved in a relatively minor pursuit involving a person who had warrants for his arrest and was a disqualified driver. So they are out and about doing it. At the moment, we're keeping the lid on and a bit thankful that we're not plagued with the swarms of these guys on motorbikes who get around without helmets and cause chaos further north in our area around Papakura and Manurewa, and even further north again in the Otara and Otahu areas. Luckily, we don't have that problem just yet, and we want to try and keep the lid on it. So a lot of that is down to members of the community keeping reporting on things, advising us where the problems are, and if they know in particular addresses where these guys generate from, we can get around and see them. We're not in a position to be able to pursue riders without helmets on motorbikes these days, which is a bit of a double-edged sword because it does give them a bit of encouragement to get out there and do that sort of behaviour. But I guess the safety risks and factors for them and other members of the community are a way too high for us to start doing that. So we have to get a bit smarter. Sorry, Vern.
Yeah, Noel, good evening. Unfortunately today, 3 of the police cars that travelled through Tuakau at very high speed is a reflection, I think, on what we're just talking about. Is there any need for 3 cars following each other that they turned the sirens off as they entered the Jellicoe Road area, but they proceeded through town at a very fast rate? And frankly, from my perspective, I thought it was quite dangerous, and many people stood on the sidewalk looking in, you might say, disbelief. It only took 1 kid to run out, and we'd be defeating the purpose of what you're trying to avoid.
I hear what you're saying, Vern, and I've having witnessed police en route to a scene myself where I've thought they've been going terribly fast. I'm not talking about today's one. Look, I was aware of today's one. They were going to back up an officer who had called for assistance following the pursuit up at Garrity Road. So unfortunately, the radio communications from the officer, due to the circumstance of what was happening there, were very poor. So when the guys get that, they do have an incentive to get there. I have to trust their judgment that they drive safely, but I know what it looks like and it doesn't look good. I've seen it myself. So I'll mention it to that road policing section. They were a section of guys that were working one up. So they're very aware of, they do want to get there and help their mate who they think is in trouble. So
yep. Look, I understand that.
Yeah.
I just want to raise it.
I was deploying to the same thing, and I saw them going up Harrisville Road, and was happy that I didn't need to go to that job. I turned around and came back to the station, you know. So yeah, it is a balance. I've seen, I'm with you.
Thank you, Noel.
Yeah, okay. So I know that speeding and driver behaviour is a very big thing for a lot of people in the community. Of note, Otahuiti Road up in Pukekohe is got an address up there that's of a bit of a concern to us. I've had a conversation with one of the neighbours up there. There's a bit of a reluctance for people to report that sort of stuff for fear of being known to the people that they're reporting on, but there are other ways to skin the cat, and I'm trying to encourage those people to keep reporting it to us. The gentleman concerned up there, in our recent checks, he's liable for his licence to be suspended through the activity that he obviously does outside his home address, but also in the other area, around the area getting picked up. So we're going to address that in the near future. In other news, the homicide in Mary, which is being handled with the Waikato police, the offender for that was apprehended at Port Waikato, having travelled there, I think hitchhiked out there. Good community spirit out there. He was actually a person that had been reported to us last year when one of the community out there thought that that particular person was the subject of a cold case missing person type program that aired on TV. We visited and spoke to the person out there, and that's how we identified him. At that stage, obviously unaware that he would go on to commit a heinous murder, but through that interaction and people ringing us, when we knew who we were looking for, we were able to go back out to the port because we thought he'd probably run back out there, having moved from where he was in the Waikato. And sure enough, that same informant had seen him. So that led to a very early apprehension in that case. There's another significant inquiry out there in relation to a kidnapping that's ongoing and being managed by the Papakura CIB, and we're following good lines of an inquiry in relation to that. And there was quite a lot of really poor driving behaviour displayed recently after a domestic incident out there, and we've also identified that person and spoken to them in the absence of any witnesses that want to go to court on it, but we've spoken to him, and hopefully that driving will abate now. There are significant drug investigations going on in the area. I can't really say too much more about those. And staffing wise at Tuakau, we've been running on the smell of oily rag at the moment. There's a sergeant and 1, so our staffing is 1 and 1. Ideally we're 1 and 4. That's due to one member being overseas, but he's going to resign when he comes back, and problems with finding staff who want to work in the area, unfortunately. But we're working on that, and hopefully we'll get up to a bit more manageable numbers in the near future. Yeah, I think that's about it. I guess having low staff sort of reflects on our visibility around the place. It obviously won't be as great as it would otherwise be. And we've had one of the guys off with COVID, so it was just one of us here for the last week and a bit. So we're just managing through it, like the rest of New Zealand, I guess.
Thanks, Noel.
Any questions or anything people want to ask?
Yep, Carolyn's got her hands up. Carolyn.
Thank you, Caroline. Thanks for that update, Noel. Much appreciated. Look, I watched with interest the most recent review of Waipa District Council in their public places bylaw. Now, what they have actually done is prohibited the light vehicles around those problematic areas where you have those boy racers congregating in the unsavoury hours and causing havoc and disruption to the community, and obviously then the spin-off effect for cost implications to ratepayers. What are your thoughts on that for Waikato District Council when it comes to reviewing our public places bylaw?
If I speak directly to that aspect of things, I know it worked very successfully in East Tamaki when that large areas were developed in East Tamaki. It was a congregating place for boy races. I think if you speak to anyone that lives in that Drury South project, down beside the motorway at Ramarama there, they would welcome anything, any sort of relief that they can get to stop these guys congregating. I think that some people are very for the public freedom aspect of things and don't think there should be so many restrictions around that sort of stuff. But I have to assure you that it's policed with discretion, and it's targeting those people that are doing that thing. I think they put a gross vehicle weight limits that can move in a particular area at a particular time. I think that's how they do some of that stuff. But it doesn't mean to say that if you're driving home through that area that we're going to give a ticket to you. It just gives us the ability to, these congregations, they are big groups of car enthusiasts, for want of a better way of saying it. They'll all go along and park up quietly on the side of the road if there's a police car there, or wait until the coast is clear, and then some, all, or at different days, different ones of them will proceed to do the skids and burnouts that we all don't like. So I know there are areas, North Waikato are having their own problems. Onewhero, Tuakau Bridge, you talk to people that live around certain streets out there and they will be able to tell you exactly what the issues are. So look, in short answer to your question, I shouldn't waffle. I agree with anything that we can to give us a way of policing these guys, because ordinarily, until they do something wrong, they can be a law-abiding motorist, you know. But we all know that if they're going out in those groups, their presence is encouraging the others. But we have to catch them red-handed or get evidence. The cameras that are around the place are really great, so I'm a big supporter of those monitoring cameras that are around the place, which are present in Rama and allow us to go along afterwards and do some tidying up without necessarily relying on members of the public having to stand up and go through the whole court procedure and things like that. So, and there are some under, you know, some what's the word, undercover police operations that go on with those things when they get pretty big and out of hand. But so those things sometimes run along as well. Yeah, sorry.
The question, Noel. Sorry, through the chair. Noel, how did that exercise work at Hampton Downs with the hidden cameras, et cetera, et cetera?
Look, Hampton Downs is not in my policing patch, so I'm not familiar with the thing. I know the Waikato were running an operation on it, and I think they've had a degree of success. The operation basically goes along with either the cameras or covert cameras operated by police personnel who are effectively undercover, watching them do their stuff. Those things, any member of the public who's been involved in, I've seen some press reports about people being involved in the wrong place in the wrong time. They can turn quite nasty and would take a very big police presence to be able to control the situation. And the problem is that these guys just drive normally past the police patrol, and there's nothing we can deal with them for. So gathering the evidence and then going along later on and taking their car and giving them the requisite forms to provide us with the details of who the driver was at a particular time is quite a good way of doing it. So
excellent. Thanks, Noel.
Yeah, Carolyn, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, just if I may make another point, and it's probably no surprise to you that rural crime and nuisance is on the increase, and probably largely of which is going unreported. We have the most recent incidents out at Omnifero where it's simple vandalism to road signs, and some of that's not just public road signs, that's private road signs with stop crossings. Now these incidents have been reported to the police, but I just quite like it noted in this forum, and maybe for follow-up for council and some of our action, that we look at that Onewhero village in Kaiapoi Flats Road as a hotspot for maybe for more surveillance cameras in the future. They have seen the vehicle, the suspicious vehicle in question, but nobody's been able to actually ascertain a number plate to date. But I just think it's worthwhile noting that is going on in the Onewhero village presently, and whatever we can do to maybe just perhaps look at surveillance or whatever to try and mitigate it would be great.
The technology is there now for the number plate recognition on those cameras, which make them a really good asset if they can be deployed. And if they're going to spend money, you might as well spend good money on it to get the technology that's available. So it's a great tool for us. Yeah.
All right, is there any other questions from any other members? No? Okay, thank you, Noel. That was very helpful. It was great actually seeing you today. So
yeah, look, there is a little bit of mist, and that's crime trends involving juveniles stealing cars and doing ram raids, and it's prolific throughout the district. And we have problems in Pocono and in Turco largely because there is a link. Some of the links are identified and some of them aren't. Now, the cars of choice are Toyota Aquas, Toyota Aquas because they're easy to drive, and Toyota Mark X's. They seem to be the car of choice. And they've done ram raids in Turco and then gone out to the gas station in Kaiawa, and are committed essentially by children aged between 12 and 14, and it's a Counties Manukau district-wide problem. So, look, that's out there, and I think we'll have some general crime trends increasing probably with the price of gas and all the other costs that are going up. We'll get the coalition increase in the petty stuff and the petrol drive-offs and all that sort of stuff, and then farms. You know, the messages for farmers is to get their diesel tanks secure. You know, and invest in their own security. So anyway, I won't keep you any longer unless anyone else has got a question. Thank you.
Thanks, Noel. That's much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Look, I might sign off if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So our next item is the team from the State Highway 1 Papakura to Drury project update. So welcome all of you.
Thanks, Caroline. How do you guys run it? Do you share your screen or do you want us to share ours?
I think Grace has got the host, so if you are able to share, that's great. And if not, Grace might have to flick the host to you temporarily. Are you able to do that, Jenny? Oh, it's, okay.
Sorry, was Grace going to do it? Or you're asking me to do it?
Jenny, I've just made you co-host.
Oh, okay. She's great. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, we can, Jenny.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well, just to thank the chair and the members for allowing us to come along to this evening and give you an update on our State Highway 1 Papakura to Drury project. We've got a couple of members of the team here. We've got Chris Smith, who's the project director for Wakatotahi. We've got Ash Mitchell, who's the project manager for the contractor Fulton Hogan. Jenny Scott, who's the comms and engagement manager for Fulton Hogan. Myself, I'm Jenny Wild. I'm the communications and engagement lead from Wakatotahi, and we also have Prasad Tala, who's a lead transport planner for Wakatotahi on this project and some other work in the south. So to start off with, I'll click through the presentation and we'll start off with Chris Smith, our project director from Wakatotahi.
Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, right. So a bit of background. I won't go through this in detail because I know we talked about this when we saw you just before Christmas. So it's just to note that it's really a $655 million project that's been delivered as a part of the New Zealand Upgrade Program that was announced at the start of 2020. Helps support all the growth out south, and it's got a whole multitude of different elements to it, including additional lanes and future bus provision and a walking and cycling shared path along one side, and that we're also consenting it in stages over the next 5 or 6 years or so. So just that's a bit of an overview. Just another reminder there that that's the 3 stages. Orientate yourself. The north point's actually pointing to the left-hand side of the plan. And that's the green area starts at, well, you can see Papakura Interchange shown there in green. The green is the stage 1A, which we're currently delivering. That's due to be completed sort of towards end of next year. Stage 1B1 is an orange, and that's around the Drury Interchange, a big reconfiguration of how that interchange works, and also a new shared use path in orange adjacent to the green area. And then the third stage is stage 1B2. It's the black area that joins all that together, and that's sort of starting in the next couple of years as well. That's across the Otuaroa Slippery Creek Bridge area. And just lastly, I suppose the yellow shows in part future route protection that'll go all the way up to Bombay Interchange. So that's broadly speaking what we're doing. And now I'll hand over to Ash to do the next few slides and I'll pick up again shortly. Thanks, Ash.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, thanks everybody for having us back. I suppose I'll just give everyone a bit of an update of what's going on in the construction space, and then obviously happy for questions at the end. So I suppose in the last month or two since we last spoke to you, we've had some really good progress made on site. The first point there is around our central median. So that's in the bottom photo, and you can sort of see that white pavement up the middle. So in the central median, we've been working basically night in, night out on night shift. And we have, in the last few months, successfully cement stabilised the subgrade improvement layer. And since then, we've actually placed the next layer of pavement on top of that as well. And over the coming months, we'll start to see the concrete barriers being installed, as well as the street light poles going up, followed by some asphalting. Really good progress through the last couple of months as well around our noise walls. And if you've driven through the job recently, you would have seen a lot of panels having been erected in the last few weeks. So we have two sections of noise walls. We have noise wall 1, which is at the northern end of the job by Jack Farrell Park. That's just north of the Beach Road or Papakura Interchange. And that section of wall was actually probably about 80% complete as well now. And then noise wall 2, which is the main length of the job, which Jenny was just highlighting it on the cursor before. That runs from Beach Road or the Papakura Interchange down to Park Estate Road. That's probably 80% or just over completed at this stage, with a few gaps for a few outstanding wee jobs to get done, and then that obviously gets painted down the track as well. And the last couple of points there, in addition, I suppose, to the medium pavement works that have been happening, we've made a really good start on the widenings, which you can see in that bottom photo. So both the left-hand side or the northbound shoulder and the right-hand side or the southbound shoulder. We've made really good progress there. So the southbound shoulder, which is also the top photo, we're starting the pavement widening for the additional lanes. And on the northbound shoulder, the gravel platform that you can see there, we've put down, and there's some reasonably significant retaining walls that go along that edge. And then once the retaining walls are built, we will backfill those with granular pavement as well. Might jump onto the next one, please, Jenny. So this is just a bit of an aerial photo. So this was taken a few weeks ago now. So it is a couple of weeks old, but this is just to get your bearings. This is pretty much sitting above the Papakura Interchange and looking slightly south. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there, that's the northbound off-ramp to get into Papakura. And what you can see, I suppose, in the construction space, you can see the noise walls that have been erected on the top of the page there, and you can see the start of the excavation works for the new Papakura on-ramp, and so you can see that the team's starting to work backwards and excavating that. Likewise, in the centre of the road, you can see the white pavement, and that's the cement modified pavements that I was talking about before. Thanks, Jenny. So I suppose a little bit further south down at Park Estate Road. So Park Estate Road has been a hive of activity as well, and it is our critical path for the project. So what that means is that's driving our end date with construction, and the reason that's, I suppose, driving the program is just the bridge has to be built in 2 halves. And so at the moment, which you can see in the middle of that photo, you can see the left-hand side, the new bridge has been somewhat completed, and now the works are focusing on the pavements or the approach pavements either side, on the eastern and western side. Once later on this month, we'll be looking to divert traffic onto that, and then we will demolish the old bridge, and then that enables us to build the second half of the bridge, and that's why it's driving our program. So some recent milestones is the completion of the retaining walls, or the sort of the majority completion, and we have 2 walls there, the eastern and western. And as I've mentioned there, the upcoming works, I suppose the big milestones is around targeting the bridge demolition of the old bridge, and at the moment we are targeting the end of April. At the end of April or early May. Obviously, COVID's causing a few issues at the moment for everybody, but we're currently tracking along nicely there, and that will look towards a Saturday night closure and a slightly longer shift than normal, and that's on the basis of the traffic modelling we've done, which indicates lower volumes on the road around that time. Go to the next one, please, Jenny. So this is just another shot, which probably shows it a little bit better. So this is just south looking north at Park Estate. And you can see there on the left-hand side of the bridge, the retaining wall, we call that retaining wall 7. And the same retaining wall as on the right-hand side, but it's just behind the houses there at 46 Park Estate. And again, this photo is a few weeks old, but the backfill on retaining wall 6 is all the way to the top, and on either side of the bridge at the moment, we've started utilities and drainage works. If we go to the next one, please, Jenny. So yeah, I suppose this is just a little bit about what's coming up. So as I mentioned before, we've got I think we've got 3 retaining walls on the northbound shoulder, and that work's going to kick off towards the end of this month. So there's 2 south of Park Estate Road, and then there's one big one north of Park Estate. We're obviously targeting the bridge demolition date, which I've mentioned. Central median is progressing. So now that we've got the base layers of pavement in, we've been installing for the last few weeks ITS ops fibre, and also we've started to be augering for our streetlight pole foundations, and we will start slip forming concrete barriers later this month. The next big traffic shift, which will probably affect everybody driving through the project, is targeted for mid this year, currently sitting around July, and that is to configure traffic like you can see in the staging in the photo there, which I think we talked to probably when we first came out and saw you. So just to refresh everybody, our next traffic shift, we shift all the traffic in against the completed central median once the median is completed. And then what that does is it opens up more real estate for us and for our construction works on the outside. And then we are able to tie those pavement widenings in a little bit better. And in addition to that, we can start our culverts, which you can sort of see indicated in that photo. We're also making a bit of a start on the southbound on-ramp with some early earthworks, and that will ramp up over the coming months, and we'll probably kick off in a bit in earnest in a couple of months' time. Unfortunately, night works will be continuing. Just the last point there, night works will be continuing until the central median is completed. So looking like a continuation through to mid-year. And then once we have traffic in the middle, a lot of the works remaining will be on days only. If we just jump to the next one, please, Jenny. So just a little bit further south, and I'll just talk to the construction down here, and then I'll hand back to Chris. So down at 1B1, which is the package of works around the Jury Interchange, we have made a start on 3 bridges as part of the intersection upgrade. And the reason those bridges have, I suppose, been brought forward over the balance of the intersection works there is because they span the railway line. And the works or the bridges are starting early to meet the program with KiwiRail's electrification of that network. So earlier this month, end of last month, end of February, we made a bit of a start. You probably haven't seen a lot. The start is around some earthworks and common service trench works. So I think if we jump to the next one there, Jenny, the next few photos might show up. So with those works kicking off, we did have the dawn blessing held on the 16th of February with a few members of the Southern Iwi integration group. And obviously with COVID, a little bit of a reduced number there, but yeah, it was great to kick off the works in a new location with that dawn blessing. And I think if we go one more, please, Jenny. So this just gives you a little bit of an indication. So just to get your bearings, this is above the Jury Interchange and looking slightly southeast. So those 3 bridges sit where Jenny's got the cursor at the moment. So the main bridge is next to the main or existing motorway. Then there'll be a new on-ramp bridge just slightly further to the left of that over the railway line. And then the 3rd bridge is the new off-ramp bridge, which falls in that wee gap between the current motorway and the existing off-ramp. So those are the 3 bridges which I was talking about. And with the early works that we're kicking off, is a couple of things going on. The Flanagan's Road, which is that wee local road on the north side, is being slightly diverted and shifted hard back against the existing boundary fence. And that's just to enable us the room to build the bridge abutment. And I suppose on the north side, we can see a couple of those vehicles. That area is called Karaka Reserve off Great South Road. And over the coming weeks, that area will be turned into a bit of a gravel hardstand area where we'll start bringing in materials to build the bridges. So that is the work that is underway down at the Jury Interchange. And I think with that, we'll move on to the next slide and I'll hand back to Chris.
Oh, thanks, Ash. So this is just a bit of looking forward again into what will happen at Drury in due course. We're about to start the detailed design for this. The construction's due to start in the middle of next year. Because this dark blue swathe through here aligns with what Ash was telling you before about how it's constructed alongside the existing alignment, and with the the on-ramps and the on-ramps and off-ramps and so forth all sort of moved around a wee bit to fit with that. Once we've built that connection through there, we will demolish the old one, especially the bridges up at the railway line, and all the old stuff around here as well. The yellow lines indicate the sort of cycling and walking dedicated areas. Just noting that this street here will be, Victoria Street will be pulled over to be in parallel there. So I'm using my mouse, but of course you can't see that. Janine can click on that for me. That'll tidy up and make that a lot safer. The blue, sort of lighter blue there, are stormwater, wetland type treatment detention ponds. Yep, that's probably all for that one. Thank you. Stage 1B2, and as you recall, that was the portion in between what we're doing now in that Drury area. We're consenting that, seeking consent for that separately from our other stage. There's a site of cultural significance in the land to the west of the that Jenny's highlighting again there, but to the south of the river, but to the west of the motorway. And we're working very closely with iwi on how we go about delivering the work in that space. It will include the area up to the lighter green area through there, but the main area of widening will be to the east side of the motorway, which keeps us clear there. And we're looking to lodge that consent in late this year under the Fast Track Consenting Act that was created in response to COVID-19. And then the stages 2 and 3, which just to be clear, are not New Zealand Upgrade funded, they're National Land Transport Plan funded. This is around route protecting the future widening needs from Drury up to Bombay Interchange. We are looking to lodge a traditional resource consent application under the RMA in the middle of or next year rather. We're working through the design and land requirements for that. We're going to go to landowners sort of middle of this year to discuss the design and potential property impacts with them around that route protection work. And I'm just going to hand over to, I think, Prasad for a bit of an update on the Bombay Interchange. There's a bit of stuff going on up there which will be of interest to you.
Thanks, Chris. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Yeah, as Chris pointed out, regarding the Bombay interchange, obviously anything south of Drury to Bombay as part of this project was basically through the NLTP, National Land Transfer Program. It was only funded for route protection. However, in parallel, like Wakakotahi, in conjunction with Auckland Transport and the BP, we were looking at some of the wider investigations at the interchange. And back in 2020, late 2020 and last year, we did some modeling, looked at all the different options to, as you might be aware of, the southbound off-ramp issues, like turning right from that ramp. Yeah, the predominant moment, it's a high-risk moment, and people tend to turn left and use the roundabout and go back to the Puki. So that's one off-ramp issue. At the same time, we have the BP exit issues, like, yeah, as you might be aware of, the safety issues. Again, it's a high risk moment to turn right from that location, but people tend to turn left and use one of the access ways related to the horticultural operations. So what at this stage, Wakakotahi, Auckland Transport, and in connection with the BP, we are looking at all the options to look at the whole interchange, all the way from the existing roundabout at Great South Road through to the BP exit. And pretty much completed around 9 different modeling options. And we sort of land, what it's showing is definitely there is an option to improve safety, but at the same time, any option that we take forward might result in some delays or queues at the interchange. That's where we're trying to get a fine balance between the options, and there might be some widening that's needed basically from the BP exit through to the northbound on-ramp. This is still, we're looking at the feasibility of that option, and we've presented this to the local board last week and discussed with BP to do some more work. And Yeah, I think in the next couple of months, probably we'll get some more clarity on how things would be looking at the short-term intervention. And like Chris said, from our upgrade to Bombay project, we don't have any implementation funding for this location. However, there are other avenues that we're exploring through the optimization business case or the low-cost, low-risk interventions to see if we could bring forward some of the early interventions at this interchange. Again, catering all the growth in the South Auckland plus the North Waikato. Some of you might have experienced the recent study with 22 detours, and which is where some of the trips are ending up at this interchange. So you're trying to bring all of this together and look at what we need to do in the immediate short term.
Because as Prasad was saying, the sort of the longer term complete interchange upgrade, you know, that's quite some way ahead. So we've been doing this modelling to look at what sort of more immediate assistance we can make at the interchange here. And the reason we're taking a bit of time with the modelling is because there's no silver bullet here in terms of none of the options we can look at are a perfect solution. So we're trying to identify the best option possible to help in the interim with smaller and particularly safety improvements before that longer term full interchange upgrade comes in the future, which will do a much better job at solving all of the problems.
That's it, Jenny. Happy to take any questions on the Bombay interchange sort of things. Yeah.
Questions from the members?
That was pretty much us, wasn't it, Jenny?
Yep.
All right. Have you finished the presentation, Jenny?
Yeah, and just this last slide was from me was just so it's on the record for any of your public that all the contact numbers there and details there if anybody wants to make contact with the project and have any questions, and we're happy for those to be shared.
Right, no, that's lovely. Thank you. I'll probably if you're able to stop the screen sharing, that would be great. It's just a bit easier to see if anybody's got questions. Yeah, I'll just open it up for any questions that any of the board members might have. No, doesn't look like there is any. That was a pretty comprehensive presentation, and it's great that you're coming to our board meetings and keeping us up to date on this project. So yeah, we appreciate that. So yeah, it's good to see the work happening.
No, we're very happy to do that. And we've booked in to come and see you throughout the year already, so that we've every 3 months we'll be booked in to come and see you throughout the year. And we're also looking to do that with we've been updating the Pukano Community Committee regularly as well, and so we haven't quite got our dates sorted yet with them, but we'll be doing that as soon as we can too, and keeping both updated.
If I may,
thank you, Jenny.
sorry, I know I don't have my
picture on. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know it's not relevant to that thing, but I feel like I have to bring it up, and that's just that Bombay interchange. I know it's not part of what you're doing, but there's people from Waikato, so I have to repeat the message. Yeah, just about if that can be addressed at some point as well. I know it's right off the far end of the project.
As you're saying, Sean, I think if you hit there, whilst this the longer term solution will be quite is quite far away, we are looking at a sort of shorter term solution to provide some relief in that space. So hopefully that will that'll improve things hopefully for people.
Thank you.
So thank you to the Waikato team. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to make sure I got the right organisation.
No, you did. You good.
Love to catch up again, and we'll see you again in another couple of months.
Thank you. Then
That's
see you
lovely.
guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next item we have, we're back to 2A, which is the Works Action and Issues Report. So we've got that big report on our agenda. So we'll probably just go through it item by item. I think that's the easiest way of doing it. So we've got the, first of all, we've got the lighting at Port Waikato. So there was there's a verbal update on today's meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the reporters, the feedback I got today is that the report is not yet available. So obviously they didn't meet that end of February date. So hopefully we'll see something at the next meeting. So I think we'll just put an action on there just to follow up and, and get the notice when they've had the report.
Carolyn's got a hand up.
Yeah, I just might be able to add to that somewhat. It was in terms of the feedback we received for the initial engagement with Blueprint. It had been raised as well, so it might be something that we can report on through the Blueprint process, whether you want to keep it as an action under that, or whether you don't really want to double up, do we?
If it's going on the Blueprint list, then we probably don't need it on both. So I'll check that. And if it's on the Blueprint list, then we'll just leave it on the Blueprint list. Yeah. Okay.
I think we'll leave it here though till it is on the list and until we start getting the Blueprint list for our meetings, just because of the level of interest that there was from the Port Waikato community about the lighting. I think it Russell came to a couple of meetings. So I think it's really important that we make sure it doesn't look like it's disappeared off before there's been any action on it.
We'll do.
Yeah, the next item is the George Street Buckland Road corner. So we've got there that pricing on site testing, survey and flow assessments are being reviewed. Do we have any further update on that?
No, that's the latest.
Okay, is there any questions from anybody? No, everybody seems happy with that one. Number 3 is the speed ban on Jellicoe Avenue in Tuakau. It's been installed. We left it on there because I think they were just waiting on a lodgement of a service request. I think Vern and Candy were going to follow up on that one.
I can make it.
You've gone on mute, Vern.
Yep, got it. Sorry, I can make a comment. Just simply due to the time constraints and where we've been with COVID, I have not had an opportunity to meet with Candy to take that any further at this point. Although a number of village people have continually spoken and residents of Jellicoe, and even today I was down there and where there was a very close as vehicles just simply ignore coming up Jellicoe and turning right at the village place, call it the intersection. They just simply cut right across the road. And that seems to me to be the major problem at that particular intersection. And looking at it, it definitely isn't going to be an easy one to fix, but I do see that there probably is only one way, and that's for a small narrow strip of divider in dividing the lanes, but leaving an access to go up into village. I've done a couple of little brief drawings on that, and perhaps I can bring those to our next meeting or get it out there for some
I think so. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Ben, but I think really all they were waiting for, and Sue might correct me if I'm wrong, is just for someone to log it as a job or raise a concern around it. So we've said it been lodged as a service request. Is that what the intention was, or?
That was my understanding, so that it would be in the system, so that it would get followed up. It doesn't mean that it'll get done immediately, but at least they've got the job logged then.
Okay.
But what would be really useful would be some of that information you've collected, Vern, to be attached to the service request, because the more information they've got.
Okay, I'm making a note. Yeah, okay.
And even some of your proposed solutions might be handy. Anything helps.
Yep. Okay, I made a note. I will complete that.
Right, okay, we'll leave it on there so that we don't lose it. So number 4 was the Turco pool upgrade. So as it says there, Sean and I met with the team from the council in regard to the pool, and they're going to come back to us with some more information. So there has been a bit of a delay in that information coming back to us, but we did get something today. Sean, do you want to provide an update on that? I don't know if he's still there. Is he there?
I'm there. Sorry, just my screen's gone dark. My battery's going flat. Yep. So Mel and Gavin Bensman
Yep.
were to come back with us with information on what was happening. They said they have had a meeting with their team. I got an email this afternoon to discuss the entranceway into the pools and the upgrade on that. But essentially, that's as much information as I have.
So I think what Sean and I can do is, because that information only came to us this afternoon, once we do have more concrete information from them, we can circulate that out to other board members. And they're also proposing that Sean and I, and anybody else interested, meet with them at a future date, I think, to look at the proposals on site, to look at the proposals around the entranceway. So again, once we've got some firm we had hoped to have something last week, but I think Mel went down with COVID, which is why it got delayed. So yeah. Okay, so that work, that we are starting to progress that now, so that's good. So we'll keep you in the loop as we get information.
So we'll leave that one open on the action register, Caroline. We'll take off the January and the November updates, leave the March one, and we'll just keep that flowing. Yep.
Great. Yeah. So the number 5 is we've got the review of the community board charter, which is in hold at the moment until the pending the representation review. Do we, just as a question, which is not exactly, it's related to this, but do we know whether the representation outcome has been finalised yet in terms of the boundaries and stuff? Someone asked me the other day and I couldn't find anything on the council website. I'm not sure if the councillors with us have any, because I know it went to appeal, didn't it? So, Stephanie's got a hand up.
Yes, it's my understanding that the decision has to be made by the 10th of April, but nothing through at the moment.
But in respect of that, there was no appeal in regards to the splitting of the community board. So the community board decision is likely to be such that that obviously there will be the Tuakau and then there's the Western Community Board.
Yeah, no, the appeal was, I think it was around the splitting of the Omnifero community
ward.
With the ward. Yeah, so it's good that Stephanie said decisions will come back by April. It's just someone was asking me the other day because they were thinking about standing for the next election and then couldn't quite work out where the boundaries were. there was no current information on the council website to inform them, so that would be good if it's April. That will give people time to have a look.
Just sticking my hand up.
Yeah, Sean.
With the community board charter, I think that's important to hold in there for the whoever gets elected next time, to ensure that that is put at the forefront before they sign in. Well, I guess as they sign in, because when you start as a committee, whoever the next committee is, there's a lot you need to learn, and it's in all likelihood that the community board charter would just get ticked off and just accepted as the standard. And I just want to ensure that there's some sort of note in there so that they know it's an important item to address.
Yep, I'm sure that I think that the reason Gayleen parked it till after the representation review was just, well, to get that out of the way, to understand what the rearrangement looked like, and then I'm pretty sure the intention was to try and do that piece of work before the end of the triennium, so that there is something in place for the new triennium. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is the Turco Community Centre building project. So verbal update.
So Jason isn't able to make it tonight, but he sent me an email yesterday. So he'll be meeting with the Turco Youth Centre Committee next Monday. That's the 21st of March. to discuss their plans and their funding requirements. So that's Jason, who's our Community Development Officer, who was here at the last meeting. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for that. And now we've got, and he knows which councillor, he knows which community board members are involved in that project.
Yes, I think he's, yeah, he definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he's previously contacted Bronwyn.
Yeah.
So
Bronwyn,
yeah.
he's been meeting with Bronwyn. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's contacted
Great.
me and spoken with me. Can you hear me, Carolyn?
Yeah,
He's
I can,
spoken
yeah.
to me. And yes, and Jay, I've spoken to today as well. And there is the meeting set for definitely set for next Monday.
Cool.
Fantastic. Thanks, Bronwyn. That's great.
No worries.
So the next item we have is the rubbish in the Turco CBD. So it looks like we've got Cushman and Wakefield will be conducting a litter bin audit of the district, covering where the bins are situated, the contractors emptying them, and the condition assessment of the bins to prioritise a programme for replacement. So that's all sounds very promising. Anybody else got any comments? Oh, Jackie's got a hand up. Yep. No, Jackie's waving to somebody.
Yeah, no.
Carolyn, you've got your hand up.
Saying goodbye. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, just a question in respect of that. I mean, we're looking obviously at where emptying, servicing and replacement. Does that work cover the scope of where we may need more?
I can check on that. I'll put that down as a question for the group. So
that'd be great.
I
know it's been identified. It's been identified out at the port, so we probably need to determine whether are they looking about the numbers.
And that is something.
So you're saying will we be looking at the requirement for additional bins due to volumes or something like that? Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Actually, Madam Chair, before I go, there's actually a waste bin review of the whole of the District Council of all rubbish bins.
Yeah, our focus at the moment is on the Turco ones, but that's great to know, Jackie, that there's a broader review as well. Vern, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did. Sean and myself did some work on this earlier. And obviously, I think that obviously we should have some input into thoughts where these additional bins need to go, or there may be some record from when we had that previous discussion. I would have thought maybe October, November last year. I might just have to go through and review the notes.
So what we could ask that they report back on their findings before, and then that will give us a chance to contribute to, like if they probably might make some provisional recommendations about where bins should go, and then if they report back to us before they start any work, then that will give a chance for everybody to have some input. Yeah, we can make. So Sue's nodding. And
I'm just typing that down. So I put, we'll request an update once the audit is complete, and we want to report on findings, report back before any work commences, so that you can have some input. Right. No, that's good. That will be sure, and that's good for everybody. Yeah, everybody be able to have that input. Number 8 is St Stephen's Road car park. So we've got an update for this month, which is access issues are being considered. The intention is not to unduly inhibit access to the back of the neighbouring buildings. The final design will be provided to the board for review and feedback. So that's good. Do we know when that design's likely to be coming to the board? No, but I can specifically ask that question. I'll just note that down. Do we have a definitive date? I'll check with Niall because, you know, I mean, it's 6 weeks between meetings, so hopefully there may be something before the next meeting for the design. Will it be available for the next meeting? Great. Any questions or comments from anybody? No, we'll wait for the design. Number 9 is speed on the Turco Bridge, Port Waikato Road. So we're just awaiting the outcome of the hearings and deliberations
from the speed limit bylaw. Carolyn, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just make a comment to that. Because there was no submission actually forthcoming from the community board, the actual the Tuakau Bridgeport Road wasn't within the scope. It was obviously the Tikahonga School was. We've got variable speed limits around the school. But in deliberations, we did discuss the need for a further, more district-wide assessment in the next review of speeds around Marais as well. So in respect of what we've heard from our public over the last year or so, that particular portion of Tuakau Bridgeport Road isn't going to be amended. It wasn't consulted on.
I'd like to comment if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Sean.
I just wanted to say, and I know we didn't as a group put forward a submission, but I think we've all heard the local voices around that. And I also think if we had a look at the statistics, it might be one of the highest crash roads in our district. I know many people, you know, there's car accidents, cars roll, people falling off the side of the road. So whilst we didn't submit, anything that can be done to help address that would be useful. I guess that's to our councillors. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm assuming that will go into it. Will, I mean, the next opportunity will be the next review, which I'm not sure when that is programmed for. I can certainly find out, but I would imagine it's at least a year away.
Stephanie, you got your hand up?
Yes, thank you. There was, however, a submission on the speed for that particular road, and it came from the Port Waikato resident and ratepayers, and they wanted the speed left up at the 100 k's for the whole road.
Yeah, I wish that would, there's a few loud voices, but I do think that there's probably a better opinion to be had.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The decisions are normally, Sean, the decisions are normally made, and they do, my understanding is they do take into account accident statistics. And if the accident statistics are showing particular areas, they will go in regardless of public feedback. So it would be interesting to reconcile what you're feeling or hearing about the number of accidents versus the data that
it would
potentially
be
the roading team has.
Yeah,
I might just see whether that's readily available. That the roading teams at a all-time low in numbers at the moment, so I don't want to ask them too many extra questions, but if it's readily available data, I'll see if they've got that available.
Yeah,
I think also just to put that in perspective as well, what had been raised, not so much in this consultation, but was more compliance around the current speed as well. And certainly that's what residents and the residents and ratepayers in Port Waikato did mention. It's around non-compliance of current speed limits and dangerous driving behaviour, which we've raised with the police as well.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you. My concern is that the majority of accidents on that road aren't reported.
That's what I was thinking.
It may be worth while actually checking with the farmers who end up with the vehicles in their paddocks on a very regular basis, because they should be able to give a pretty good idea of how many there actually are, which may give a better idea of what's happening on the road.
Ben?
Yeah, there's one other area there we could look at too, and it is I'll contact Dave from Curly Salvage, who is the tow trucking company for the area, and let's see what we could get from stats from him. And you're dead right about the amount that don't get reported, and there's many reasons for that. But let's try some stats from a completely different area. So I've made a note to give him a ring and see what we can get.
Right, oh, that's good. The other one is to find out how many times farmers have to use their tractor to pull someone out the drain. So, yeah. Okay, moving along. Number 10 is the West Street car park with the line markings required. So there was a verbal update to be provided.
Now, I wanted to make an apology on this one. Sean had sent me the photos, I think basically straight after the last meeting, and I didn't actually get them out till the last couple of days. So they haven't been sent to the, well, they have now, but they weren't in the hands of the team when they were supposed to give an update. So my apologies for that. So we'll have an update next time, unless Sean's got any update, but I just wanted to apologise for that.
You're always forgiven, Sue.
Oh, I know, but I seem to make a lot of apologies. Things get buried in the email. Apologies.
I think we're all juggling two larger email boxes and your very unique time, shall we say. Right, and we're all doing the best we can, I think. Number 11 is the Port Waikato blueprint. So we've got no update on that today. Councillor Eyre, I don't know if there was anything you'd like to add.
Yeah. Look, after having reported the original feedback being at around 27 responses, I stand corrected because there was a big push in the last the last few days really, and they received over 50. And by all accounts, on a district-wide scale, that was a really good response in terms of initial engagement with the community when blueprint. So go Port Waikato. So we met some weeks ago with the consultant urban designer, and just to go over some of that initial material. We met at the port, myself, Jim, and other staff, and just basically went through the port, identified some of those areas that of significance, was particularly obviously the surf club, the erosion matters, the playgrounds, the public spaces. So going forward from here, we have a technical workshop on the 21st of March, staff, myself, and the consultants. Then we go forward with a public workshop with the community on that's got a placeholder setting for the 3rd of May. How that's going to be conducted, we're still not certain. It'd be lovely to be face to face, so let's keep our fingers crossed there. But there's certainly a lot of enthusiasm in the port over this project, so really good space to be. Obviously, all of it must be completed by the end of the financial year, so progress will be made fairly rapidly going forward from here.
Right, thank you, Carolyn. That's really
so.
I'll
just I'll put that update from Councillor Eyre into the notes, and we'll just keep that in play as it progresses. Yeah,
that's great, and good to hear so much feedback as well from the community. That's great. Vern, you got your hand up?
Yep, sorry, just going back to the previous item, West Street car park. I think we should take into account to include in this car park scenario the Liverpool Street car park opposite the hotel, for when that comes back into council hands. That definitely needs to be addressed and tidied, even more so in this case, I believe, than the others.
Stephanie, you've got your hand up?
Yes, on the Liverpool Street, it's not an official car park, and it's not a reserve either. We've got council staff actually defining it for Councillor Church and myself at this present time, because it's being used inappropriately by a public member at the moment.
Okay, so we'll leave that as a separate item, Vern, and then hopefully if there is further updates that impact on the community board, then Sue can add those to an agenda for a future meeting.
Yeah,
great.
I'm just sticking my hand up again.
Tracy.
Yeah,
yeah, great, Sean.
Sorry. Yeah, I'd love to see that added, just to an update to understand what's happening there between the public-private interface. I think would be great.
Yep, I'll get an update for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Right. Tracy, I see you've got your hand up. We don't normally take questions or comments from the public during the formal part of the meeting. So
can I wait for the after the formal part for feedback?
Well,
can I pop it in the chat?
Pop it in the chat. That would be the best thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll pop them in the chat.
Right, thank you.
Okay. Oh, Caroline, your mute's on.
Sorry, the next item is number 12, the public toilets at Alexandra Readout Reserve.
Yep. So I've got an update on that one from Jason. He had a conversation with the service delivery team. The toilet strategy is currently being revised and updated. Alexandra Redoubt is not a considered location for the next financial year. So that was the feedback we got.
Okay, so I'm sure Bronwyn's got something to say on that because we had to talk about that the other day. Bronwyn, away you go.
I was thinking more along the lines of putting a compostable toilet there. So it's green friendly these days, as people say. And it's definitely something's needed. My son is back from Samoa at the moment, and he and his daughter went up there last weekend, and that was one of the things he come back and actually noted, that there was no toilet facilities up there whatsoever to look around the cemetery, that he'd been to put flowers on his grandfather's grave and other family members. So I was thinking on those lines, that could be looked at by getting a person from the prisons do something at a lower cost than what it would be to have built like they were in town.
Okay, so you're looking at a probably a community board project for that, as opposed to, obviously there's no funding currently available from the source. So but what I can do is maybe just see who the best person to get advice from on. They're not going to have the resources or the time to assist, but they can at least give guidance on what can and can't be done there. So I'll see if I can get that for you. Yeah,
that would be great, Sue. Thank you.
And you've got your hand up.
Yep. So what has been overlooked here, we are on mute, is the fact that the request for that area was to look at sustainable green toilets. And that is I am doing work in that area right now. And as we might like to call this a tourist attraction because of the status of the site, there is that possibility that funding can be made available from a government source, as has been used on the track at Ngarawahia. Now, Leanne was doing some work with me on general discussion in that area, but with the change with Leanne South and Jason here, we haven't gone any further with that at this point. But Bronwyn is dead right. It has to be green. That's what this initial intent was for, in bringing the Alexandra Readout Reserve into account. So funding would come from a completely different source.
That's a good idea, Vern, as we look at that tourism funding option, and then also looking at what support we can get from the prison in terms of the build. And that's very good. Are we able to explore it down that avenue, Sue? Is there someone at the council who's linked in with the tourism work?
All I can do is ask Jason whether the idea behind Jason's role is not that he does the work, but that he just tries to advise and help point you in the right direction. So I think as a community board, this would be kind of like your project, and then he could assist with just advising on what would be required. So initially I'll just find out, or I'll get Jason just to talk to service delivery about what we can and can't do on that site with respect to a compostable toilet, what might be the conditions or whatever, if they can give us that. And then obviously he might be able to point you in the right direction for some funding sources as well, or he may be familiar with some that are available. Yeah. There is some tourism funding applications coming in shortly, but they're usually for quite significant projects. They were quite large projects last time that were granted. That was the TIF, what they called the TIF funding, tourist infrastructure funding, and they did tend to be larger projects, not small ones. Yeah.
If I can.
Sorry, I've got a few hands up here. So got Carolyn's got her hand up, and then it'll be you, Vern, and then Sean.
I guess just a comment in respect of seeking any outside funding. Probably the first question would be, I imagine, would be where's your feasibility study? So I guess maybe Jason could assist in how to go about the community board actually initiating something as such.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't have too much paperwork on these things. So I think Bronwyn's probably identified the reasons why we want it. Vern?
I just think we need to investigate further how Leanne got involved. I think is it with the Hakataramea Trail. That's where the toilet funding came from as far as that trail is concerned. And I think that our site here is as uniquely significant as that particular trail. So
I think with the Hakataramea Trail, they get 390,000, something like that, visitors per annum. It's a very significant trail in that area. So that was what I meant by levels of significance. So and that would have been why that was they got some funding for that. But I'm certainly I'll have the conversation with Jason, and I'll let him know that Leanne had already done some prior work, and maybe there was a similar one.
In general discussion, yeah.
Yeah, just a general discussion with them. Yeah.
And then Sean, or we got Sean, and then Bronwyn, I'll come to you.
Thank you. Good points. I guess it's a wider question about how that relationship works and what the community board would be expected to do in regards to getting this community board led project off the ground. You know, we'll struggle in terms of, you know, the first thing we need to do if we need to get funding is understand where it's going, how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that we kind of need a lead from council to, I mean, we can propose that we stick a toilet here. I guess we could pay to get a set of plans drawn. And so everyone can understand the scope. But is that the way that council would like us to deal with it?
Yeah.
Or
yeah. So I think
I know there's been some work done on those partnerships, but just keen to understand more so that we know where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's my intent when I seek advice from service delivery. So I'll just go with the concept that you guys have come up with. And I'll just say, how would we go about progressing this? What do you need? What do you expect? Because it's probably I think they're getting better at these things. But we do need to make sure that there is a process in place for these things. So that's the aim.
And Bronwyn?
I was just going to say that I had mentioned this a while ago to Leanne and Jason when I spoke to him the other day. So whether he's retained that information or not, I'm not sure.
That's great though. So hopefully Sue will be able to provide us some more information. I mean, if you get information before the next meeting, so if you circulate it out to, we can perhaps start some work on it before then. If it's going to be a community project, we can start drafting up something. Yeah. So now we're on to page 16. So we've got the planned works for the Onewhero Community Board area. So we've got Dr. Lightbody Reserve. Where we've got the details there. I will just take it that people have read them and just see if we've got any questions on each item that we go through. So there's Lightbody Reserve update. So there's the Tuakau skate park. Works expected to get underway in the next 2 weeks and completed by July. light body car park, tender's been advertised, Turco Aquatic Centre, and the court resurfacing. Any comments? No, everybody's happy.
I'll just add one.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. Just to say that Kim Wood, we've been dealing with her through the combined sports, and she's been fantastic. That's all.
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear.
Any particular project, Sean, or just for the whole light body reserve?
And well, probably for the whole lot of it.
Okay.
But she's been great with the car parks. Just been great with keeping us informed, keeping us up to date with designs. You know, she's met us on site with a large group, 10, 15 people, to discuss the ins and outs of where things are placed and the limits and all those things.
Cool.
She's
great. Good
done a great
feedback.
job.
Thank you. I'll pass that on.
So the next part, we've got the Tuakau Car Parks and Civil Works contract. So that's being developed. I'll just keep an eye out. If anybody's got questions, either raise your hand or put your little hand thing up. St. Stephen's Car Park, so the design's continuing. The Tuakau Memorial Hall floor recoating. That's the description there. The Buckland Road Development Park. Vern, yeah.
Good up. When we did a study with council in regards to that particular development, and look, I can't think of his name. One of the planners about where we were, the question came up about the access from the proposed Elizabeth Street development to come out onto Buckland Road, and they had agreed that they did not want to see two developments come out at the intersection of Elizabeth Street and Escott's Way. So we have now precisely what council didn't want, two major developments coming out at the one intersection, which is going to be George Street, Escott's Way and Elizabeth Street. So each of those developments has 70 to 80 odd sites, which will mean pretty much two vehicles each site leaving morning, coming home at night. And something will need to be looked at as far as that intersection is concerned. And soon, not in any 10-year plan, because each development, one development is completed and the other is just starting, with the first homes to go up shortly. So I think, Sue, this is something that we need to address quite urgently as to what will happen at that intersection and the pedestrian crossing that is there. Quite
Sorry,
important.
the Buckland Road Development Park, that's a park, isn't it? It's not a housing development.
The housing development is right in behind that park that goes down to Elizabeth Street. All of that traffic is going to come out at the intersection of George, Elizabeth and Escott's. I don't think we can afford to leave it as an item not addressed for our planning. Something needs to be looked at for that.
So what you're
quite
saying
quickly.
is you're hoping that they're looking at it from a holistic point of view of all of the developments that are happening in that area, rather than just as on a one-by-one basis.
Correct.
Okay, I'll ask that question.
Thanks.
And that was, sorry, Elizabeth Street and George Street.
And Escott Road.
Yes, that's what I've said, Bronwyn.
And Escott Road. Okay.
Yep.
So there's
I'll
three
just
you
add,
said
if I
three
may.
developments going on, are there? Three developments.
There are two.
Two.
That is the Escott's Way development and the Elizabeth Street development.
Oh, Elizabeth Street. That's my favourite development. I know a lot about Elizabeth Street.
Good.
So we could add that concern to the works and services issues.
Yes, I will.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'll
great.
just
No,
get
that's good.
just, hopefully feedback to say that it is being looked at. I mean, that was what they would normally do. Would they be looking at the whole thing, not on an individual case by case basis, but I wouldn't stake my life on it, put it that way. Two developments.
I'll just stick my hand up as well and just say
Yep,
that
sure.
I think it probably is what it is going to be in the next 6 to 12 months. It'll probably be one of the busier intersections in Tuakau. It's already, at those peak times, it's already a little bit of a drama. And whilst I don't imagine it's, I know it will have been discussed during consenting and things like that. I just think it needs to be added into that long-term thinking.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be a intersection of issue at some point in the very near future.
Okay.
That's great, thank you, Sean. The next one is we talked about the Buckland Road Up Development Pack, which is more the pack. So that's concept design. So next one is the Harrisville Bridge. Funding discussions ongoing. Next one is the Sunset Beach Toilet, which we've got just the next item. So we won't cover that one for the moment because we'll cover that next. And then the Maritime Bay Playground upgrade. So that's just a construction date to be confirmed. So that's, Carolyn.
Can I just make a question? Maybe Sue might be able to glean some further information. This playground was previously scheduled some years ago and put off because there was a contentious area, and it's not in the district plan, but there was some suggestion there was a significant site there, a significant Māori site. So correct me if I'm wrong, there it was put off for that reason.
Okay.
So I just would hope, I've tried to ascertain from staff whether that has been explored further. Obviously, as I say, it's not identified in the district plan. I just want to know that we're not going to be faced with the same issue again. Was it explored, that issue explored last time round and resolved before we get any further?
Okay.
Perfect.
It does say in the report, though, Carolyn, that consultation with the community, iwi and the board is planned to get underway around July. And I would suggest that perhaps councils now do their consultation with iwi probably better than perhaps they did in the past. So hopefully somewhere that information has not been lost, that there will be someone within the council or the community that recalls that, and we'll be able to raise it as a concern at the time. So hopefully, and we've raised it tonight, so Sue will be able to take that back to the.
I'll
to
put
the
that through to the it'll be through to the project team who are pulling this together. Yeah.
And hopefully they might check with local iwi a bit earlier than July, just to start that consultation perhaps earlier.
So, and Councillor Eyre, sorry, you said that the site wasn't designated on the in the new. Is it in the new PDP?
No.
Can I just?
So we're moving.
Can I just butt in? I've got a funny feeling that the playground, and there was a Mr. Walter. Oh, I'm thinking his name was Mr. Walters, had land down there that the kids play on. That was he was one of the members down there, and I've just got this memory that the land, they didn't finish doing it because he may have passed away or something like that. It's a long time ago. I just remembered something happening down there at that time, why it wasn't finished, why there wasn't a extension to the playground, because I know they put the flying fox there, and there was a little library down there, and there was a jungle gym type thing built, and that in my time, and then something happened that the rest never got finished.
Okay, I'll add that to what Councillor Eyre has.
I may have the wrong name, Sue, but I think.
I don't think the names. Hopefully, they'll have the information somewhere on the actual site. Yeah.
Right, Stephanie, you got your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I'm just wondering if the one where Ron was talking about was the Albie Phillips
Reserve down at the port? Because I had a feeling that had those sort of things on it, rather than Maritime Bay.
Okay, that's fine. We'll look into. I'll get them to look into the history of the Maritime Bay playground anyway. It's the one that's being upgraded. Yeah.
All right. Well, Port Waikato features heavily on our agenda tonight. So our next item is on the Sunset Beach Port Waikato toilet replacement. So we've got the three options there, A, B, and C, and the recommendation is for A. So yeah, I'll just see if there's any questions or comments from the board. Carolyn.
I guess I was just a bit concerned that key stakeholders haven't actually been consulted on this as yet. So I have only, as of yesterday and reading this agenda, forwarded the report and information to the residents and ratepayers, the Malcolm Bertie of the Surf Club, and it will ensure that obviously iwi are consulted as well. So until we actually take some direction and guidance from them, I would suggest that the community board really sort of take a back seat on this one and just, as I say, take direction from those more key stakeholders.
That's
so
useful to know.
Sorry, Councillor Eyre, was this the one that you emailed Roger McCulloch on? Yes. Okay. So we just park this for now until that consultation or that engagement has occurred.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, that's good. I was going to say the same, is that we hold this item until next meeting, or really just because it's as long as it doesn't delay the project, that's all. I mean, greater weight should be given to the views of the local community anyway. Then so maybe if I don't know how long, when they've talked to the local community, if they want to flick us an email, if they want to move on the project, and we can have a, as to what the community feedback is. Hopefully we can. Okay. You all right there, Bronwyn?
You will see on the report as well, though, that they have actually got an email directly to council as well. So once that report is furnished to those other parties, then they can get directly back to staff as well.
Yeah, they've just got no date on it, that's all. So, but so long as the community's given a chance to respond back to it, because it's really important that the communities. So it's good that you raised that, Carolyn. That so really we'll I guess we can say we'll support any decision of the community.
Yeah,
as long as they make the single decision. I don't know.
Yeah, I just like to add, if I may, it'd be great for that to be fed back to the community board as well, so we understand the community's position.
Yep. Yeah. So I've put we'll hold the decision until the next meeting, or alternatively an out of cycle decision by email once the community has had their input and given their feedback on it.
Sounds good. Okay, we'll move to the next item, which is the discretionary funding report. So we've got the item there. There's no request for funding this time, so it's really it's just a summary of the expenditure and the commitment. So I think there's now I just followed up this afternoon with the flowers for Bob McLeod, because I did get those in January, so just in terms of reimbursing myself for those. Did we do the, Bronwyn, do you know if I think who was going to do the donation for Miss Hilary Barry? That was going to be sorted. I think we were going to look at how we could do that, because I think that was going to.
Bern was going to do that. It wasn't flour, it was $100
to Breast Cancer Foundation, wasn't it? Or
breast cancer, yes.
Yeah. Bern.
So I'm awaiting to see Hilary's husband and son, who is now here from Canada. I just haven't been near them at this point, just simply because of contacts and our current situation, COVID-wise. But there has been some discussion amongst a few friends in general on that point. So I think that that's likely to be what will transpire. I've just made a note to get back through one of the family members to Hillary's husband.
Okay, we'll leave that with
That's
you,
what
Vern.
Vern-
Update.
Sorry,
Vern,
Bronwyn.
just letting
Sorry,
you know,
Bronwyn.
Vern, that was what his daughter that I spoke to originally said, which she would appreciate anything going to the Breast Cancer Foundation. That was her request, her daughter's request.
So I suppose then we could just make that on behalf
Of Hillary
of the
Harry.
community.
Yep.
Yeah, for her, and notify the family that we've done it.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, look, Bronwyn, I'll call you tomorrow on that, okay?
Sweet as. Yep.
Okay.
You can probably make a donation online to the Breast Cancer Foundation, and then do it. Yeah, and I'm sure they have it where you make a note that it's on behalf of somebody.
They can usually receipt them too online, so
that's right.
Yeah, because you'll need a receipt for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's useful doing it online, because they email you a receipt. It's all done very efficiently. Yeah, so are you happy to do that, Vern? Or yeah, great. Then the commitment to Belgravia for the subsidised pool entry for the 21-22 season with that's this current season, so that's all right.
I've got to follow up with Belgravia. I'm going to pass it over to Mel and Gavin, who you met with, now that Mel's well and truly in place, because I haven't had that signed contract back for this year either, and we haven't received any invoice for this year. We haven't received any information on the dollar subsidy. So, I mean, I would imagine potentially their opening and things has been quite erratic with COVID and things, but I just need to really get a picture of what it's all about, and also to chase up that
We've still got that old one from the 2019-20 summer season. I mean, if they don't want it, that's fine. We'll tell them that. We'll give them a deadline. Yeah, we need to hear from. We need a invoice from you by this date, or else we'll presume you're not wanting to pursue this payment.
Yeah,
just keep it quiet.
Yeah, we discussed this. We did discuss this at a previous meeting. That very point, there will be some notes within the system on that.
Yeah, no, that's right. So I think all the other commitments are reasonable, and the expenditures up the top there. No, that's great. And we've done the jury project, so we're now on to the exec update from yourself, Sue.
Right. I guess really at the moment, you may have experienced yourselves, and you may have constituents that have experienced slow service from council, delays in services. We have a lot of teams that have been quite knocked about by COVID, which has really, it's affected our service levels quite significantly. So it's just to bear with us, and hopefully, we're reaching the peak they talk about down the other side, and then hopefully we can get our services back to normal, if not better. So really, that's probably the thing that's occupying quite a lot of our time at the moment, because we're receiving a lot of complaints that we have to deal with. I've got a pretty standard response, but some people aren't satisfied with that. But we can, as I say to my team, because they're getting really stressed about it, you can only do what you can do. So just bear with us, and if you're talking to community members who are upset by the speed of service, then if you can just pass on our story, basically, that would be appreciated. So that's probably one of the bigger things at the moment. And then as an executive, doing a piece of work on what is the new world, what does the new way of working look like? And I think I mentioned this last time, once we pop out the other side of this latest COVID infection period, we really need to look at, it's never going to go back to normal. And so we need to really figure out what the new normal is and how we're all going to work together with the councillors, with ourselves, with our communities. And obviously there's going to be much more online virtual kind of side to that. So it's just, but how does that work? So yeah, so they're probably our focus areas at the moment. And then the other thing that occupies a lot of time at the moment is the incessant reforms and changes in legislation that continue to come through. There's a lot of work for us in those areas as well. Yeah, as apart from BAU, which is dog hearings and speed bylaw hearings, and the councillors have had hearings and workshops coming out of their ears over the last, I'm sure they'll talk about that, but that all requires support as well, obviously. So from a staffing point of view, it's we certainly haven't slowed down, even though maybe our outputs have slowed down. So yeah, there you go.
No, I can fully appreciate the service disruption that the council's experienced. So from the impact of COVID, I think it's like most services and businesses at the moment. Yeah, and working in the health sector, I know how it's feeling. Yeah, it's basically you do the best you can day to day because you don't know what tomorrow is going to look like.
No.
Bronwyn, were you wanting to? No, your camera's moving. So the next is update from the councillors reports. Carolyn, do you want to go first, and then we'll go to Stephanie?
Sure. I guess probably just following on from what Sue has said, under the really trying times, staff are working really, really well. And, even us from a councillor's point of view, directing our queries to the ELT, I feel horrible doing it to you continuously. You'll besiege with our questions, but you're all coping absolutely admirably, the ELT team. So yeah, from me, thanks a lot. I guess really to have mentioned about the vaccine passport requirements, I guess probably another hot topic that people are wondering when we're going to review again. So, and Sue might be able to confirm this, but some weeks ago we had the team that was appointed, obviously operational matter, but with Gavin, it was Mary Ellen, Eugene, Councillor Patterson, and was it Councillor Beck?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Reviewed the decision to keep the vaccine passes mandate in effect for now, and obviously with a review date. We haven't got a review date yet, have we?
No, I believe they're meeting sometime this week just to talk about what they need to be able to inform the next decision. So it is imminent as to what they're doing. But they need to look at current trends and all that kind of thing just to make sure that they're making a proper decision on it. Yeah.
But I guess to communicate to our residents and ratepayers that it is being reviewed continuously. That's really important, I believe. So in terms of, Sue's quite right, we haven't actually slowed down. We've had hearings after hearings, the dog hearings after the speed amendments, deliberations coming up in the next couple of weeks for that. We had 3 or 4 days with hearings for the dog control, and had numerous submissions and those speaking obviously to those submissions, which is really, really great to have that participation online. And I think that by and large went quite well. And Jan Sedgwick, Councillor Sedgwick, did an admirable job of chairing those hearings. It was ran pretty seamlessly actually. We have the implementation of the Easter trading policy, came into effect at the end of last month, which permits Easter trading to shops in our district, at obviously the discretion of those businesses if they chose to. And that decision was by and large made because we recognise the impact that COVID has on businesses, and to restrict them from further opening hours then. So on balance, we considered clearly all submissions, but with that, this decision has been made. We had an overview from the team in respect of the proposed district plan. Sorry,
Carolyn. Oh, yeah, she's put herself on.
So appeals to that closed on the 1st of this month. What month are we? Yeah, March, 1st of this month. And they had somewhere in the vicinity of 66 appeals to the Environment Court on that. And by and large, the majority, I believe, are around the rural zoning. So, but another of other points. So all of that information, those appeals information can be found on the District Council website, and it does make for very interesting reading, actually. So that by and large is all from me, other than the fact that I personally can't wait to get back to the communities, just to do that face-to-face meeting. I know, you know, particularly Port residents, and likewise probably for Turco, having been in that Auckland sort of border, you know, they've faced additional restrictions to the rest of us. They really have, and many people are becoming so fatigued now. They just really want that face-to-face contact. And hand on heart, I just don't feel I'm the sort of person that believes you can't go past the face-to-face contact with people for good representation. So I just can't wait till I get back to community meetings and being able to talk to them and see them. Obviously, for the end of this triennium, we're going to have some big changes up front. You might have all seen that Mayor Allen has announced he won't be standing again for next elections. And, you know, we all commend him on the leadership that he's provided the Waikato district over the, what, some 12 years? I could be wrong, even longer.
I think it was, yeah.
Or even longer. So, and we've got Councillor Beck that has indicated his desire to run for mayor, and watch this space. I don't know who else are we going to see come out of the woodwork. So interesting times up front, also with our other long-standing Councillor Noel Smith also announcing that he will be making a shift to regional. So look out, Pamela. So that, yeah, that's all the news from me, but if anyone's got any questions, happy to take questions.
Right, thanks, Carolyn. Anybody got questions for Carolyn? No, that's a very comprehensive report, Carolyn. Thank you. And thank you for all your hard work and with all the various projects that you're involved in, and the communication as well. It's great. Emails and stuff. Stephanie.
Oh, Carolyn's done an excellent job. There isn't much left for me to say, but I do agree. I hate Zoom, and I really love it when I do get the opportunity to meet face-to-face. Been quite lucky with Pocono Community Committee, being able to have a couple of face-to-face actual meetings, which is wonderful. But yeah, not much else to say.
No, that's great. No, thank you, Stephanie. And I know it's not so easy for you with your internet not being so stable either. It doesn't help either. So no, you've done a sterling job tonight, hanging in there with us. Now I'll go around the room to the community board members. Ben, would you like to provide an update?
Yeah, one of the points of interest has been the number of near misses on the speed hump that is at both ends of the main shopping centre in George Street, and the number of motorists that are threatening to actually hit people and not stop, not be friendly in any way with any of those two crossing areas that people seem to take their life at risk in doing, and not just young ones, particularly the old ones. And you can go down there any day and see people crossing and using those crossings as crossings, which we know, of course, they're not, but that is what the public see as an ideal place to cross the road. I think what we need to do is have a look at what Pukekohe has put at a number of intersections to say that these are not pedestrian crossings, please give way to traffic. But it's somewhat difficult when someone with a walking stick is halfway across the road and a 4x4 just goes straight through. How we deal with it, I'm not sure, and how far down the road we would need to locate perhaps another crossing, but it is something that I would like to see that we investigate further. We've already discussed it with Land Transport. They've said that they cannot do anything with it at this point because of the proximity to the corner. But having a pedestrian crossing up by the library and only another one in the middle of the main street isn't good enough. We need to do something else about this to protect our residents in this respect. I just raise it so it's something, and maybe Sue, it might be another works request that goes in. We do need to relook at it. And I'd like to go back to those people that have spoken to me about it and say that we have discussed it, and I did raise it tonight.
Right, we can add that to the works list, Bern. And
Yeah,
I see
can you,
Stephanie's got her hand
Grace,
up.
did you get that? I didn't really get all the details on that. So sorry, I wasn't expecting to get requests in this section. So could you just flick me a quick email on that, Vern, just with a few, just a couple of bullet points will do. Thank you. That would be appreciated.
Stephanie, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I have. I've actually raised this issue with Roger because it is an issue, and realistically, how much easier would it be to potentially convert those to pedestrian crossings?
So we're talking about
So
the same
that's where my
person.
conversation's gone, and I'm still waiting for a response.
Okay,
Pardon?
so we'll add it to our works and
So I've
services issues list, and I'm sure
Yeah,
so
I've already
we'll-
raised it with council.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get a response for our next meeting. So that would be great. So the next update will be from Bronwyn. Would you like to do an update? Is Bronwyn there? Bronwyn, you're on mute.
I didn't mute me. It's to do with Anzac. I have spoken to Carolyn with regards to this, and I have booked the town hall in case we have rain, but at this point in time, we're going to use the park like we did last year. The road closure is staying the same as normal. We've requested 2 wreaths. What else did we tick, Carolyn?
Sorry, my screen froze for a moment there, Bronwyn, so I only caught the second half of it, but it sounds like you've done a great job updating everybody. So
I've got 2.
It was the
what was
speakers.
the other thing? We booked the hall. We did the road closure. We've booked 2 wreaths through the council. What was the other thing?
Sound system.
Sound system.
Was it a sound system we put?
And
we identified some potential speakers.
Yes, and we're sort of my main thing at the moment is what do we do for names and things, Sue, to when do I have to have those things into council to let them know for our booklet that we get?
Oh, you're on mute, Sue.
I was just saying I'm completely ignorant when it comes to Anzac ceremonies, so I'll be completely honest. I have no idea. So what was your question? I'll see if I can find out the answer for you.
Well, the main thing is at this stage is for me is wanting to know who I have to speak to, because before I've always worked with somebody of our council staff that have been up here, like like it's been either Sally or it's been
I think it was that's right, Amber did it last time.
Amber did it
she?
last
Yes.
year. So all I'm wanting to know is who do I have to speak to about getting the names for our booklets and that done? Who do I speak to?
Okay, who do you have to speak to?
Yes, and my other big problem, I rang and spoke to your secretary today, this afternoon, because I am not getting any minutes coming through my email from the council.
Okay.
And so she said she was going to send me one. Well, I never received it. So I gave her my email address. Then I rang and was talking to Sean. So he sent me the minutes and I had read all those. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know.
Can you send me an email?
Yep.
And then then we'll have your correct email address, and I'll make sure Grace has it as well, and we'll make sure we update our distribution list. It sounds like we've got your wrong email address on our distribution list. So if you can send me an email, then we should be able to resolve that.
Okay. Cool. That's mine, but at the moment we're looking good. My biggest problem is getting some money out. It'll be out of our community board money this year to pay for some sustenance for the people that come into the hall. Probably looking at no more than $400. So can I have somebody to back me up with the amount of money that I can spend on the Anzac food, please?
Yeah, I'm happy to second that, Bronwyn. Were you needing some money in advance until we get a receipt?
No, I should be all right.
Okay, we can talk to me anyway if you do.
Yeah, so just make sure you keep
no.
those receipts, Bronwyn,
Yep.
and send them through for reimbursement. Yeah.
Keep all receipts.
No, that's
Yep.
great. Thank you, Bronwyn. Sean, would you like to do an update? Is Sean there? We've got a couple of
Yep,
people
I'm still
gone.
here.
Carolyn's gone and Jonathan's gone early.
Couple of items. First, great to hear all the stuff with Port Waikato. You know, I feel it's often a place that's sort of a little bit, they do their own thing well, and it's great to have the community board input in that. The other item, and I don't want to add anything to Sue's list.
I'll go on.
But I just want to, I guess, find out what the long-term position is around the Les Batkin Reserve.
Okay.
So it's a new one, but it's probably one of our bigger. I'm going to say there's 1,000 people there a weekend over summer, and just want to understand what's happening in the long-term planning for that park.
Yep.
So I think it's one of our biggest attributes.
Yep. Okay, I'll ask that question of the Parks and Reserve planners. I know they're doing a lot of strategic planning in that area at the moment. Rebecca Law is a person who's been taken on to do that. So I'll find out for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. So I'll do a quick update now. So so I met with Bronwyn and we put our heads together around the Anzac Day Parade, and I have to say Bronwyn is a great resource in terms of that and does a huge amount of the planning. So thank you very much, Bronwyn. Had meeting with Sean and the pool people, so that went well. So that's moving along. We talked about that earlier, so that's great. I've sent out an email to all of you regarding the information around the Waikato trails and any interested stakeholders that might be interested in that. So circulate that far and wide. There is also, now I did get an email around some community engagement training for community groups, which came to community boards. So I'm not sure whether, I presume that all of you will have received that, but I just thought I would check tonight that you've all got that. And if not, I'll flick it out to you again anyway. So again, circulate that because there's some dates for community group training, and this doing focusing on governance, planning and funding.
Was that the one that came from Jason or Leanne?
Leanne, yeah.
Leanne, yeah, it would have come from. They're organising all of that, yeah.
But I'll get that out to the board members anyway, so you can just as a reminder and encourage people. And that's pretty much it. I seem to be like everybody else this month with too much in my inbox. Fern, you got your hand up?
Yeah, Vicky has just checked. Vicky has just checked the Breast Cancer Foundation. We can do a donation online. So if the board is okay, I'll get that activated tonight or tomorrow for the $100. Can I have the board's approval that I can do that, and then I'll seek reimbursement?
Yeah, we've got that. I think that's already been approved. The payment. That's fine.
I just wanted to check.
Yeah. No, and then when you receive the receipt, because the receipt will come by email as well, just flick that to Sue, and is it go to you, Sue, for reimbursement?
It normally would go through Grace and then through probably Eve, maybe. Yeah, so great.
Yeah.
Send it to Grace and Democracy. Yeah.
The only
Yeah.
ask, has Pamela got anything to comment on?
Yeah. Sorry, Vern, I was just getting there. So I just know, I'm aware that Pamela and Tracy have sat through the meeting. So I will close the formal part of the meeting, but now allow Pamela and Tracy to just say anything if they'd like to say. So Pam first. The floor is yours.
Thank you for that. No, just really appreciate the opportunity to listen into the conversation tonight and hear some of the issues across the area that the community board covers. It's always helpful to hear from the people who are at the coalface, if you will. I suppose that the constituency that I cover is quite a large area. I am one of the two councillors that represent your area, and hopefully you hear from the other one every once in a while. But I just wanted to attend tonight and like I say, just get a flavor of what sorts of issues your communities are dealing with. I suppose from a regional council point of view, somebody previously, I think it was you, Sue, who talked about the landslide of reforms, and I suppose that as so I chair the Strategy and Policy Committee for the Regional Council. We just had a meeting this morning doing yet again more submissions on various aspects of whether it's national policy statements or environmental standards. Today, one of the ones that we were dealing with was the drinking water standards, and including our submission on that. And I suppose just raising some of the issues that we see as a regional council in terms of the cost that are flowing from central government directions into the regional council land of responsibility. And the question I was asking today is, I don't dispute the need for safe, clean drinking water. I would never dispute that. Absolutely, we need to do that. Some of the mapping of water supplies that is being asked for is going to require extensive work. And the question I asked today is, who's going to pay for that? Because if the money doesn't come from central government to pay for that, then where it comes from is you and I as ratepayers. And so I think it's really important that if we're going to introduce policy direction that could result in significant time and resource to follow through, that there are discussions had up front around the burden that will place on our ratepayers. So I suppose that's one of the questions I always ask. So and like I say, the reforms and government position statements have been thick and fast this entire triennium. I suppose in order to provide you and your community board with any particular items that you're looking for information from regional council on, perhaps Caroline, ahead of one of the future meetings, you and I can touch base a little bit earlier, and I can send out something to your community board members saying, hey, are there some specific areas you'd like to hear comment from me on, so that I can ensure that I'm sharing the information that's important to you all. And so again, thank you for the opportunity to attend and listen in, and and look forward to continuing the dialogue as we go.
No, thanks for that, Pam. That's great. And Tracy, it's been lovely
I've got a
having.
question for Pamela.
Oh, sorry, Sean. Yeah.
Sorry. Thanks, Pamela. I think it falls under your area of responsibility. I just raised the reserve down at the Waikato River. And it's massive. The rise of the 450 square metre section has been the rise of the jet ski, because people can no longer park a boat at their house. We get a massive amount of traffic at the river in Tuakau. in terms of ensuring compliance, there's 5 knot areas, there's things like that.
Right.
How do we go about having a community voice in that?
Sure. Now, if I recall correctly, earlier in this triennium, there was a review of the marine bylaws, and those sorts of matters would have been covered in that. So that's something that gets developed in a draft form, and it goes out for community consultation and then is heard by a hearings committee. And I know that happened earlier in the triennium. I don't know exactly off the top of my head how often that process has gone through, but that would be the time for communities to provide input. And that would be around things like where water ski lanes are, or where jet ski areas are, or where swimming areas, things like that. So what I could do, Sean, is just ask the question as to what is the frequency of review of that.
Yep.
I suppose the other thing I could do is ensure that you've got access to those marine bylaws as they currently stand. And I can clarify, if you have issues, where would you put that through to?
Thank you. Yeah, I think there's a lot of safety issues down there with the amount of, I'm gonna hazard a guess and say there's 1,000 people that are out on that river over the weekend at the Tuakau ramp on a typical weekend over summer.
Sure.
So there are a number of issues that arise from that sort of population.
Right.
And wanting to understand where the best voice is heard.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll come back to you with that.
Magic. Thanks, Pamela.
Right, thanks, Pam. And we do appreciate you coming to these meetings, Pam, because it's really nice to have that connection with the regional council. So yeah, I definitely will catch up with you and talk to the board members and find out what useful items for future meetings. So and now finally I'll go to Tracy, who's been a very patient member of the public, staying for the entire meeting. So Tracy, I know you had a question earlier. Yeah, it's lovely having you come along. So kia ora and welcome.
Kia ora.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful, and I do apologise for my intervention or my intervening. So yes, I actually, there was a really great comms on Werero Marae, and so from Candy, and she popped in there the Zoom link, and also come along and have a listen. So I'll just let you tell you a little bit about myself. I work in the health industry. I work for PHO, ProCare Health. Been in there for many, many years. So like yourselves, we are going through health reforms and things like that. And we're the largest PHO in New Zealand. So we look after many practices, and they also, which go from Pokino right up to the Kaipara. So, and also my other role as a hapu member of Ngāti Tahinga, I sit on the Ngā Uri o Tahinga Trust, which at the moment has has relationships with the council and regional council, having an environmental plan around significant areas and sites of significance in the area that Ngā Uri o Tahinga cover. Also my dad, I don't know if you know him, Richard Thompson, he lives down the port, he kaumātua of Ōrairo Marae. So he's had a few huis with council and, been around for a long time and has been a part of the ratepayers committee as well. So that's just a little bit about myself. I did say I came along for a whakarongo, a bit of a listen, but I couldn't help myself. There was, when you were talking about the rating thing. So I have a lot of whānau who stay in Pairata. There was an issue of speed while that was used as an alternative route And there were a few beautiful little cats that were owned by some of those residents that were killed by cars. But more importantly, there was a lot of children up there too. The blind spotters by the old Pairata school, and they come flying over. And, you know, that was quite a concern. So I just lay that here for future. If there's any more further mahi being done, but I see that the road is open now. And the other part was around the blueprints. I think my dad sent an email. He's very, he always makes sure that ngā uri o tahinga and also tahinga karewa, as you know, who own the camp there in Port Waikato, get a lot of these correspondence. But yeah, just tailing on to that korero around the consultation process with iwi and with hapu. So kia ora koutou.
Hi Tracy, it's nice. Yeah, it's really appreciate you coming along, and good to see that your dad's giving you the next generation is following in his footsteps, which is always good to see. So you're welcome to come to any of our board meetings, to come along, and also, yeah, like your dad, we'd encourage you to participate in any of the consultation processes that occur, because actually you've hopefully seen tonight that the voice of the community is important in these things. So yeah, ka pai, it's great that you've come along. Encourage a few others. I saw Pania was on for a while as well. Is that is Pania a
my
relative
sister
of yours?
Yeah,
Your
she's
sister.
my
Lovely.
She's also my sister, and
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Ka pai.
Yeah, we'll pass on our thanks to her as well for joining the meeting, because actually it's good to see people taking the time out to come along. So yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, so we close the meeting now, and yeah, very well. Oh, we should note Candy is an apology tonight. So I noticed that Candy wasn't on the meeting either. So yep, so stay safe everybody, take care, and look after yourself.